Germany's interception of a Russian surveillance aircraft in Baltic airspace was not an isolated act of air policing. It was a clear signal of an evolving strategic posture and a renewed military identity. The incident highlighted how a single moment can reflect broader geopolitical shifts and internal transformations within a nation that has, for decades, distanced itself from overt military assertiveness. Germany, long known for its economic prowess and pacifist approach to defense, now finds itself standing at a historic crossroads where strategic necessity, alliance obligations, and domestic recalibrations are redefining its role in European security. On June 27th, German Eurofighter Typhoon scrambled from the Laza airbase in response to the detection of an Ilyushin Il-20M reconnaissance aircraft flying without a transponder and communication, signaling a breach of established aerial norms. The mission's success in intercepting the Russian aircraft before it entered German airspace illustrated not only operational competence, but also a political message aimed directly at the Kremlin. It showed that NATO's northern flank remains alert and that Germany is no longer content to play a passive role in collective defense arrangements. The action was mirrored just 2 days later by Poland, which activated full-spectrum military readiness in response to suspected Russian missile launches from Belarusian airspace. This sequence revealed a broader NATO strategy, an unspoken baton pass in defending the alliance's eastern edge, with Germany initiating a stance that Poland quickly reinforced. Germany's decision to intercept the Russian aircraft was backed by significant political and military recalibrations. The country, under Chancellor Friedrich Merz, has committed itself to a complete transformation of its defense identity. This includes increasing military spending, deploying troops beyond its borders for long-term stationing for the first time since World War II, and building industrial capabilities that can sustain this new role. The permanent deployment of a German battalion in Lithuania represents more than just a physical presence. It is a reaffirmation of Berlin's commitment to NATO's Article 5, which ensures collective defense. The symbolic and strategic value of that decision was amplified by the involvement of Lithuania's leadership, who framed the deployment as a historic moment of shared security responsibilities. This shift did not emerge in a vacuum. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Germany has undergone a process of intense self-reflection. Historically shielded by the post-Cold War order and the security umbrella provided by the United States, Germany had relegated military matters to the background. Trade, economic growth, and diplomatic multilateralism became the pillars of its national strategy. Its military, once one of Europe's most formidable, became underfunded and organizationally sluggish. The 2022 invasion, however, acted as a clarifying event, making it abundantly clear that peace in Europe could no longer be taken for granted. It also revealed the fragility of the continent's defense posture and the inadequacy of relying entirely on American security guarantees. Following the invasion, Berlin launched a special €100 billion defense fund aimed at revitalizing its military capabilities and breaking from decades of underinvestment. Yet money alone could not address the cultural and bureaucratic inertia that had taken root. Despite the declaration of intent, actual deployment of funds lagged, and systemic inefficiencies within procurement processes hindered rapid implementation. Only a fraction of the announced budget had been spent even as security threats intensified. To counteract this, Berlin has begun relaxing its fiscal constraints, including the constitutional debt brake, to facilitate borrowing for defense and infrastructure investment. These steps indicate a recognition that long-term stability requires upfront investment and a break from past caution. The creation of a missile production facility in collaboration with Lockheed Martin and Rheinmetall marks a milestone in Germany's effort to achieve defense autonomy within the NATO framework. With an annual capacity of 10,000 missiles, the facility will help address shortages and ensure prompt availability of advanced weapon systems. This is a clear move toward not only securing German territory, but also contributing meaningfully to Europe's shared defense capacity. Moreover, the transformation of automotive factories into hybrid production facilities for both defense and civilian goods reflects an industrial policy pivot toward dual-use capabilities. Such changes signal an intent to future-proof Germany's industrial base while addressing contemporary defense needs. Importantly, these strategic shifts extend to Germany's broader economic model. In regions like Görlitz, traditionally reliant on declining industrial sectors, defense manufacturing is creating new employment opportunities and reviving local economies. The takeover of an old train factory by KNDS for the production of Leopard 2 tank parts is emblematic of how Germany's military revival is deeply intertwined with its economic restructuring. These developments are addressing not only security concerns, but also regional economic disparities. priorities. The repurposing of industrial labor and facilities for defense use reflects a pragmatic approach to managing deindustrialization while enhancing national security. However, despite these significant steps, public sentiment remains divided. While there is support for protecting national and regional interests, the historical memory of militarism still looms large. Political groups like the Alternative for Germany, AfD, voice skepticism about foreign military engagements, arguing that German rearmament should serve deterrence rather than participation in overseas conflicts. This reflects a broader hesitation within German society to fully embrace a military identity, especially one that could entangle the country in long-term commitments or escalate existing tensions. Yet this hesitancy is being increasingly tested by the actions of adversarial powers and shifting expectations from allies. Germany's strategic pivot is not solely about military assets, but also about how it redefines itself within Europe. The emphasis on coordinated defense, investment in logistics and cybersecurity, and support for Ukraine all point toward a comprehensive approach to security. Berlin's message is clear. It aims to be a credible pillar of NATO capable of leading by example. This includes deepening collaboration with allies such as Ukraine through technology transfer, joint weapons production, and strategic infrastructure support. These moves not only contribute to regional defense, but also help establish Germany as a key enabler of European military resilience. Challenges persist, especially in translating budget allocations into tangible outcomes. Delays in procurement, shortage of qualified personnel, and inefficient logistics remain major obstacles. Nonetheless, initiatives to retrain workers from struggling sectors like automotive for defense manufacturing suggest a willingness to adapt. The partnership with Ukraine in producing air defense systems and the localization of military technology could also serve as a model for future collaboration across NATO's eastern members. Furthermore, the coordinated response to Russian activities in Baltic airspace demonstrated the operational integration of NATO's Eastern Defense Corridor, showing that alliances can respond with speed and cohesion when the need arises. Economic concerns still weigh heavily on Germany's ambitions. With an aging population, increasing social security burdens, and the demands of decarbonization, the fiscal room for defense is constrained. To address these pressures, Berlin must continue implementing reforms that make defense spending efficient and sustainable. Tax reform, incentives for defense innovation, and energy price adjustments are all being considered to enhance economic productivity while maintaining security commitments. In this context, Germany's long-term investment plan of nearly 1 trillion euros over a decade becomes crucial, covering transportation, digital infrastructure, and energy in addition to defense. Germany's industrial reorientation is not just driven by security concerns, but also by global economic trends. The high costs of production and increasing competition in traditional sectors have forced a reconsideration of national priorities. Defense, once seen as a marginal sector, is now viewed as a central pillar of strategic autonomy, with major players like Rheinmetall expanding rapidly and job creation in the defense sector outpacing declines elsewhere. The overall trajectory is one of cautious but purposeful transformation. The economic benefits are real, but they come with social and political costs that require careful management. Internationally, Germany's shift is being closely watched. Allies expect leadership, especially given Berlin's economic influence and central position in Europe. Within NATO, Germany is being called upon to not only contribute but to lead. This involves assuming responsibility for deterrence on the alliance's eastern flank and investing in capabilities that reduce reliance on the United States. Berlin's recent moves suggest a willingness to meet those expectations, though the success of this transition will depend on continued political will and societal support. As Chancellor Merz noted, strength is not about using weapons, but about being formidable enough to never need them. A deeper cultural shift is still needed. German society must reconcile its post-war identity with the new demands of collective security. For decades, the military was viewed as a last resort, and any deviation from this stance sparked significant political and public backlash. Now, the need for a strong military is becoming more accepted, but the transition is uneven. Political leaders are beginning to speak more openly about strategic autonomy and the importance of credible deterrence. Yet universities, think tanks, and media remain cautious in their embrace of militarization, reflecting a broader ambivalence that will take time to resolve. Germany's past plays a significant role in shaping its future. The lessons of history are deeply embedded in the national psyche, but so too are the consequences of inaction. During the Cold War, Germany relied on external powers for its security. Today, the landscape has changed. The United States is increasingly focused on the Indo-Pacific, and European allies must shoulder more of the defense burden. burden. Germany's decision to invest heavily in defense is not only a response to Russia, but also a recognition that security can no longer be outsourced. Strategic autonomy, once a theoretical concept, is becoming a practical necessity. The incident over the Baltic Sea serves as a potent symbol of this evolution. What might have once been managed quietly through diplomacy or deferred to allies was handled directly and decisively. The message to Moscow was unambiguous, but the message to the German people was equally important. Berlin is no longer passive. It is engaged, prepared, and willing to lead. The shift from symbolic support to operational readiness is not just tactical, it is foundational. It marks a new chapter in how Germany sees itself and how it wants to be seen by others. Looking ahead, Berlin faces critical decisions. Balancing military investment with domestic needs will require disciplined governance and transparent policy frameworks. Defense cannot come at the cost of economic vitality or social cohesion, but neither can peace be sustained without credible deterrence. Germany must walk a fine line, maintaining its economic strengths while building the capacity to defend itself and its allies. This will involve new alliances, expanded industrial capabilities, and a redefined role in European and global affairs. Germany's military rebirth is more than just an institutional overhaul. It is a national recalibration. It signals a move away from historical hesitation and towards strategic confidence. The question is no longer whether Germany will lead, but how. The future of European security may well depend on Berlin's ability to navigate this complex transition with vision, responsibility, and resolve. As the country continues to invest, build, and prepare, the world watches not with skepticism, but with the hope that Germany's resurgence will bring with it the stability, strength, and solidarity that the current era demands.